This is a message for those of us who are single and available, open for partnership. Now, before I get into it, I want to say that there is absolutely a difference between being single and being available. Available to me is when there is no tether, loose end, or incompletion relative to a past relationship, and you truly feel like all the tethers of your love, the tethers of your energy, the tethers of your life force are 100% yours and present all the way, nothing leaky, nothing connected or attached to old dynamics. Whereas if you're single and perhaps still nursing a prior heartbreak or entangled in power dynamics from the past, this is not actual availability from my perspective. So, this is a message for those of us who have done the work to allow for full completion in past relational dynamics and have arrived into a time, a season in your life where you feel single and available, meaning completely open, all the way present at the leading edge of your life, at the leading edge of the current of your life. And there's nothing left, at least nothing that's dragging on your energy, unresolved or unfinished or incomplete. So, when it comes to being in this place and desiring partnership and really feeling like you're ready for it, like you've stabilized in your sovereignty and learned from prior partnership dynamics and are now pulsing at this leading edge of relating to life, but also deeply desiring partnership, like that partner that can really, really meet you. I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking to me. I'm sharing from the front line of my own authentic, true learnings of this season of my life, being single and available and desiring partnership. And what I'm finding is there's this line, there's a fine line of a place where we can teeter into desire creating demand. So the place where we desire partnership and it tilting into the energy of demand, demand on life, demand on every relational or social engagement where you're out and your lens or tracking system is always tracking for, is this my mate? Is this my partner? Is this my partner? And that is going to ultimately turn out to be a repellent energetic. So the dance is tracking, releasing demand that comes from need or just putting pressure on life to hurry up and shifting into a space of not bypassing your desire either. Actually being able to own that a desire for partnership is there without the demand, without the pressure. Now, as I've been in that practice myself, it comes from a place of recognizing the beauty that is here in my life. So this is a practice of transforming hope into here. This is about transforming the idea that what we desire, what we need is a function of our own um, idea. Like I want this partnership and I think it should happen now. I can feel the demand, I can feel the pressure in that. And it doesn't leave room for life to come in with its timing. And I have found that when I transform hope or demand or um, reaching out or looking for or wondering if there's something I could do or not do to mess up the manifestation of that partner coming into my life in right timing, all of that is in the matrix of hope, right? And I had a teacher once who told me that hoping and having are incompatible energies. If you are embodied in the energy of hoping, you are not a match to having. And to me, that feels similar to transforming hope into here. Really shifting from hoping that it'll happen, reaching as if there's something lacking that you don't quite have yet, to a recognition of the absolute magic, beauty, and perfection that has been the case in every single phase of life so far. And if you don't agree with that, then maybe you aren't ready to transform hoping into having, transform hoping into what's here. But for me, when I look into my past and I recognize every partnership that came in, when it did, how it did, and lasted for as long as it did, there is nothing that I could see about it that should have happened differently, that I regret or would change, because I learned and I grew and I received and grew in my capacity to receive love, my capacity to give love, my ability to take personal ownership and responsibility, my capacity and space that I can hold for my partner, for his process without taking it personally and dovetailing into my own state of needing him to be different or creating pressure, demand, really growing into the woman that I am today. And how do you do that if you don't have the relational dojo to be in the practice? So when I look into my past, I recognize that everything I experienced up until now has prepared me to be the woman that I am today that will be able to receive that partnership when the time is right. And if it was always perfectly timed in the past for what I needed most at that time in my life and when I was actually ready for it, why would it be any different when it comes to receiving my partner in this next phase of my life? It may happen next week, or it may happen next year, or it may happen in 5 years. So I actually, if I'm going to transform hoping into having, hoping into here, I need to actually adjust to the possibility that if I'm really embodied in my trust with life, which is my ultimate relation with the divine, the great daddy, the great father, the force, the penetrating force of life, that I have through all of these past experiences built a trust within. I've built a trust in life through the experiences of my past that have led me into the present. And if I wouldn't have asked for anything different in the past, and I'm blown away by the miracle of life's timing in the past, then that is occurring right now in the present. And I get to appreciate that relationship that is here right now. The relationship that I desire, the one that I trust, that is fully available right now. It is here. It is here right now. And I feel that embodying, receiving that recognition within myself, and I got to work at it. It is not always the most obvious or easy thing to remember. I slip into this tracking of partnership frequently. And so that's what's been teaching me the difference of shifting into what's here, into the appreciation of the love that is always present in my life, truly appreciating the allies, the friends, the teachers, the business partners, the collaborators, the family members, the community, all the love that is present right here. And instead of reaching out to or resisting the space and filling it with anything, food, distraction, what if I were in the practice of actually embodying the true intelligence and awareness that I have and allowing that space to be filled with the intelligence of life's force, of what is here, always working through my experience. And of course, it's easy to say those words. I'm in the practice. I notice myself at times go into unconscious eating behavior. If there's like a period of time where I feel bored or there's nothing enlivening, filling the space. And I'm really deeply in the looking at what if I allow the space to be as the vessel for whatever form is the truest from life's intelligence to come into my field and fill the space. But if we're always filling the space with distraction or relational dynamics that are distractions themselves, um, numbing behaviors, all of these things, there's no room for what is here, which is the penetrating force of life's intelligence that's always aiming to work through us in some way, if we're willing to listen, if we're willing to feel it, if we're willing to be compassionate with ourselves and humble enough to see. Sometimes what may seem like the hardest pathway, the most uncomfortable in the short term, turns out to be the becoming of the version of ourselves that is actually required for the manifestation that we're calling in for ourselves. And when it comes to partnership and relationship, I am in the experiment as a woman who is single and available really proud of myself for doing the work that I have done, being a yes to what I've been a yes to, and also a no to what I've been a no to, regardless of whether there's another suitor or not in the field, but actually being willing to be alone and finding that it's actually quite beautiful, finding how much I respect myself, finding how much I love myself and can really sit with my choices. And I notice that when I'm making choices that are choices that come from the place that I can respect myself the most, that's when I feel the most magnetic. And when I make choices where the other day I did go into a pattern that I was conscious that I was going unconscious around eating late at night, shifting into a space of like watching a family pattern. I'm at home visiting my family right now, and I was conscious that I was making a choice to go into this like unconscious pattern in the spaciousness of not as much going on as it usually is, and just giving myself, after a season of a lot of discipline in this most recent wave of my time in Costa Rica and Peru with dietas and deep study, lots of fasting and restriction, there was a bit of a pendulum into just consciously giving myself into or permission to go into an unconscious pattern of eating and watching TV. And I've seen that pattern come up, and I got to feel the history within my own family and within myself of how that pattern can come up when I'm bored, when there's not so much going on, distraction, and it kind of like fills the space. It fills the emptiness that maybe perhaps a partnership would kind of fill. And so I realized after that, the step is compassion. It always is. My teacher, Ishmael, will say, you can only heal as deeply as you don't punish yourself. So there's this balance between witnessing ourselves, observing ourselves when we either consciously go unconscious or just unconsciously go unconscious, and lubricating the pathway once we become conscious of it with compassion. And when you can actually hold yourself with true love, that's got to be a match for true love and compassion, that creates a doorway for you to actually look. The lights go on for you to look, for you to be honest with yourself, which sometimes doesn't feel good. Like, wow, okay, this is a behavior pattern that actually isn't building self-respect. This is a behavior pattern that I recognize if I can infuse consciousness in it through compassion and actually keep the light on and go stay conscious and choose a new path there, which means leaving more room and space in my life, specifically when I'm not in a super austere or disciplined period, specifically when there's not like so much going on, specifically when there's no distraction, not putting in a distraction, but actually allowing as the vessel, the feminine, the space, which sometimes initially can occur as boredom. And I notice for myself when I'm in my aloneness or solitude and there's boredom, that's the trigger point that sometimes can spin me into a behavior pattern that's essentially just distracting, filling the space, taking up time, numbing out for a moment, and then coming back in, usually to another period of big austerity or discipline. And so I'm in this inquiry of what is required in that moment to allow, because the masculine, the king, the masculine energy, the man form of it, and also the life force form of it, is a penetrative, momentous, energetic that likes to have motion and penetrate its light into. And so if the vessel's already full of distraction, thinking thought patterns that are unhelpful, old karmic patterns, reactivity, addiction type of patterns, then there's not a real space for the force of life, which will manifest itself exactly the way that it's meant to, in the timing that it's meant to, and how it's meant to. And it's helpful if there's room for it. And so I'm really committed in this season to both taking full personal responsibility for where I might fill up the space with unhelpful material. And that's where the transformation is, that is allowing for space to be there so that the force I trust so much has room to penetrate in, has room to come into my life. Because when the intelligence of life has room to do its thing, and we're not, that's where they say you get out of your own way. If you can just get out of your own way. I gave you some examples of a way that I might get in my own way. I'm in this active practice with you. If we get out of our own way, then there's room for the force of life, which again, I'm coming back to. It's moving from hopeful that it might happen to the here-ness of how it is happening. How am I being penetrated by the force of life? How are miracles and synchronicities showing up in my life? Where is love present everywhere? And how satisfied am I really with the beauty of my life in every single way without lack? Whether the relationship that I desire comes in next week, in a year, 5 years from now, or ever. Yeah, I've actually been sitting with that, right? At the deepest level, I don't believe that it will never happen, but there's something in me that recognizes there has to be a willingness. If I really trust life, same way there has to be a willingness when it comes to having children or not having children. From a place of really trusting life, if I'm really trusting life, can I be willing to know that I'm being penetrated with the force of life's intelligence and the forms of the masculine in whatever way it's meant to flow into my life and flow through me is going to occur, is already occurring, and will occur in its proper timing in relationship and in alignment with the highest order that from my human consciousness I can't always see. And I truly believe there's a higher order. And I truly believe there is no lack. And I truly believe I'm so supported. And I truly believe that my life is driven by love. And I truly believe that sometimes I can get in the way of it when I go into hopefulness or imposing my own ideas about how or when something should happen. And I'm looking through that lens. That is an example of getting in the way of really embodying what it is to trust. And I do believe if when I am the most embodied in my trust for life's intelligence, that is the ultimate partnership. That is my ultimate guru. That is my ultimate guide. That is my ultimate ally. That is the ultimate connection point that is here, not hoping for it. It's here always. And my allyship is to that relationship. And I feel that relationship only building and strengthening with me the deeper I trust it. And I believe that's true in our romantic partnerships as well. And so that embodiment, my theory is, can only serve with a lot more pleasure on the way. The process of becoming ready for and a match for the type of partnership that I desire and deserve.